Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. There's a lot to discuss on the show. First of all, we'll tell you that the president of Pakistan has met the blind cricket team for Pakistan, of course, the national team as well, and they briefed the president on their stellar performance and the season that they've enjoyed as well. The president, of course, appreciated the performance of this cricket team and also appreciated the way that they have raised the national flag high as well. So I think it was a very productive meeting as far as honouring them is concerned and recognising their services for Pakistan cricket is concerned as well. And these are fantastic bunch of men as well who are performing on regular basis. I think there's a lot of consistency with this blind cricket team. So of course we talk about that. Then of course we move on to the India and England Test series that recently concluded with India taking the series 3-1. England would be utterly disappointed, but a lot of positives for India. I think they not only tried some new combinations, gave them dream debuts, but also brought players in form as well who had been struggling to get runs on the board. Especially I talk about the curious case of Shubman Gill. So we'll talk all about that series and how England's model has truly failed, because I think Basball is the way forward, but not every time will that work. So if you're getting a solid player who can occupy the crease like Joe Root to play unorthodox cricket, and at the end of the day it's costing you. And I think the biggest disappointment for England has been Ben Stokes. Throughout the series I've seen no performance. So I think we'll talk about that and England's chances going into the future as well, and how they're missing out on that key element of players who can occupy the crease as well as score runs as well. So we'll talk about that in detail. Then of course we move on and we discuss Saudi Professional Football League. That also continues. We have Al Ittihad who has defeated Al Wahda by 2-1. Al Hilal beat Al Ittifaq by 2-0 as well. Meanwhile, Al Hilal tops the points table with 59 points. Interesting stuff happening there, and of course dominance in Saudi Pro League continues. Then of course we talk about an Asian Tour International Golf event in Oman, where Mexico's Carlos Ortiz has won the title. He was absolutely superb throughout the course as well, and of course he beat South Africa's Louis Oosthuizen, who was also good on the given day, but when it came to critical, I think the critical phases of the game, you can call them, and getting at least par, I think the Mexican was just far too good. So a brief about that as well. Time now to discuss things in detail and introduce our guests. First of all, in studios we've been joined by sports expert Ali Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum Ali, how are you?
Walaikum salam, I'm very well.
We've also been joined by first-class cricketer and cricket expert, a man of many talents that he is, Mr. Kashif Majid. Assalamu alaikum, how are you, sir?
Walaikum salam, thank you, Ahmed.
Great
Thanks
to have
for the
you.
introduction.
Thank you for joining us. We've also been joined by sports expert Umar Khan. Assalamu alaikum, Umar, how are you?
Walaikum salam, I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you on the show as well. Now, like I said, of course, there's a lot to discuss, but like I just gave you the brief that the blind cricket team has been performing exceptionally well, and it was good to see them meeting the president of Pakistan. Of course, they were honoured there as well in this meeting. The president, of course, appreciated their performance, and they had a chance to brief about the future plans as well, the way things are going, what's up in stall, and of course, their recently concluded series against India as well, where of course they didn't end up on the victory note, but they performed pretty well. India, of course, clinching that series 3-2. But of course, I think things go a long way when certain members of the state are meeting the sportsmen and are honouring them and acknowledging their sacrifices. I think it's a very good model to follow as well. But that being said, now we come our focus to India versus England, and I think there's a lot to discuss, but right after this short break. Stay tuned. And of course, like I said, that it's always great when members of the state are meeting any athlete, any sportsman, let alone a team, and honouring their services. Ali Mehdi, how do you see this development? Of course, the president of Pakistan invited this blind national cricket team of Pakistan. He of course appreciated their services. They were honoured as well, but at the same time, they had a lot to talk about their endeavours as well with the president.
No, I think it was a great initiative for the president of Pakistan to actually call the blind cricket team of Pakistan. Look, this is the one team which has performed extremely well. They've done very well for their country. They've played with and they've done with performed with flying colors over the years. And you talk about a national team which has performed very well. It is the blind cricket team of Pakistan. They've done exceptionally well. Should it be against India or other big teams for that matter? And for the president and the head of state to actually sort of invite them and then at the same time to appreciate their great performances is a great initiative, and I think it's fantastic for these young individuals too. And then at the same time too, it shows that going forward that blind cricket it really should be in the forefront when it comes to all the cricket tournaments. We talk about men's, women's, and everything, but the fact of the matter is that the blind cricket team of Pakistan has been performing very well over the past few years too. So I think it's good that they're there, and such sort of visits should continue to happen.
Absolutely. Kashif, it's important, I think, for any sportsman or any person belonging to the sports field to get the acknowledgement, and especially I think when you talk about Ali Mehdi is right that this blind cricket team, that we've always heard that they're performing and they've got top-notch accolades for Pakistan internationally.
I think the most World Cup won by any blind team is from the Pakistan. So this is where we stand. Second important thing, when we talk about the blind team, we already know the infrastructure we have got when it comes to these guys. But hats off to these guys. They've been playing their heart out. They've been exceptional for the last so many years since we've started following cricket, and since we've started the blind cricket, we know for the sure they've been the champions throughout their entire history. And Pakistan is blessed because these guys are doing marvelously well. And I've played a certain match. It was a CDA versus the blind team, and believe it's just not an easy cricket. It's just not easy. And we were the losers in that match too, because of course certain rules are there, but again they were quite the professional team. So yes, I can say that is it's hats off to them, and because they've been doing exceptionally well for the last so many years, and nobody cares before. But right now, with the president calling them and honoring them, it's just maybe that's the start of a new journey for them.
Absolutely, but they're a very talented side. I know for a fact that they were also able to beat the Rawalpindi Islamabad Sports Journalist Association, Rishja, as well, who lost a match against them, an exhibition match of course, but they were absolutely ruthless. So Rishja had no chance there as well. So I think they've got the necessary talent. But Umar, it's important policy-wise as well for the state to honor a sports team that is representing them on the national level, or even an individual sportsman who has won anything for Pakistan.
For a sportsman, the best thing is appreciation. A sportsman always get encouraged by appreciation, and that's all they need. And as my other fellow said right here, Pakistan blind team has been the most consistent team out of the all blind team we've seen. They're regularly making the finals, semi-finals, and winning quite a lot of it. Their conversion ratio of the trophies is very well. And even the disabled team of Pakistan have been doing very well. So yes, they need encouragement, they need recognition. They are our national heroes. Representing Pakistan on any field is an honor, and I'm glad that the president took this step, and this is very encouraging for all other sportsmen as well.
Absolutely, and I think, like I said, that the essence is that the state recognizes not only the services of these players, but also the team management that is involved. And of course, they have an opportunity to brief the top members of the state, about the problems in infrastructure, any challenges that they are encountering, and maybe we can find a way there as well. That now brings us to Test cricket, and of course, India versus England. A result that goes 3-1 in India's favour. England would be utterly disappointed, like I said. But I think there's been a lot of positives, Ali Mehdi, if we talk about India. How have you found the series so far?
Look, I think it's been a very lively series, and it's been a fantastic series. It's a great testament to the game too. Yes, Basball has come to an end. This streak of winning series ever since this McCullum has taken over. They've actually won so many consecutive series, but it's finally come to an end. But obviously, when you go to a place like India, it's pretty much impossible. This is 17 consecutive series they've won at home, and it shows how dominant they are. And nobody has been able to break that stranglehold of the fortress too. And it shows that India, when it comes to home, if they want to qualify for the World Test Championship, the reason is because they have been playing phenomenally well at home, and you see that they've just been excellent. But England have nothing. England have played decent cricket too. I think they could have done very better. A lot of inconsistent performances over here, Ahmed. Like you said in the introduction, a lot of big players haven't performed. You talk about 3 big players in the form of Ben Stokes. He should have led from the front, but sadly he hasn't contributed. He's not bowling anymore, and even with the bat, he's literally done nothing. And the other one is who we expected a lot of was Johnny Bairstow. Johnny Bairstow hasn't done anything. And then Ben Foakes also hasn't come to the party. So the problem over here is that in their batting, that middle order has been really very soft over there. They haven't really performed, and because they fall like a pack of cards, that middle order, India's taken full advantage, and full credit to an understrength Indian team.
Absolutely. Kashif, of course we can talk about what went wrong with England as well, but at the same time India's got this fantastic model of not only giving dream debuts to youngsters and making them perform, but also bringing out of form players back in form as well, and in this recent test series we've seen all of that happening.
I guess when it comes to India, they know the brand of cricket they want to play when it comes to the test cricket. They know what their speciality is, and they just stick to their specialty no matter what. They've lost a series against England when Monty Panesar and Graham Son was creating havoc against them. But still they believe that the spin net is their weapon, and this is what they are doing for the last so many years. And especially when it comes to the European sides visiting them, it's their potent weapon, and they're doing exceptionally well. When it comes to the dream debuts, some were the fortunate ones because some of the senior members weren't playing, and they've not asked to play. Virat Kohli just sat himself out, and then Ajinkya Rahane and Chiteshwar Pujara led the way for the newcomers, and they've done exceptionally well. The dream debut of Sarfaraz Khan, everybody was so emotional, and it's good to have Sarfaraz in the team because he's been scoring runs with the average of around 70 in the domestic cricket, and this is where domestic cricket of India is so strong, providing the opportunities to the youngsters at home. And this is what we are lacking. We provide the opportunities to the youngsters away from the home. So most probably this is a good series for so many youngsters. I think Jurel, Sarfaraz Khan, Jaiswal, and everybody chipping in, everybody making a statement.
Absolutely. Omar, India's dominance was expected at home, but the way England came up front in the first test match, I think most of us thought that the results are going to be pretty much challenging for both teams as well. But I think immediately after that test match, India didn't look back.
Well, India were in shock. The way England played back, it was quite amazing, and everyone was counting England out for a whitewash. But the way they played and they bowled out India before 2:30, I think it was pretty amazing. But that was the only test match where England were able to score above 400. Apart from that, the other 3 matches, England have struggled. They barely reached 300. They crossed 350 once, and they scored 300 plus once, and that was the problem. Even in this test, the last one where India won the series, there were 70 runs. They required 70 runs with 5 wickets in hand, and that was the test of nerves of these youngsters. What I appreciate about India is the way they develop their players. As we were mentioning our blind cricket appreciation, that's how India build their players up from the very young age of under 15, under 19s. They have major sponsors. They've taken care of all other things, and all they need to do is focus on their game. While if we compare in our country, our youngsters, all they care about is their spot in the next game. So a sportsman has to have a very good mind frame to play, and India has proved it over the time. Dream debuts, of course, you mentioned Sarfaraz Khan and his father emotional speech. It was heart-touching. And Jurel, how he played off. If the 6th wicket would have gone down, Jurel wouldn't have stayed on the wicket. It could have been a different story. But then again, all credit goes to India, their team management for giving and trusting these youngsters, and the senior players who give their spots to these youngsters, unlike we see in our Pakistan cricket team.
Well, I think there's a lot to explore in this England side as well. But obviously for India, we'll talk about that factor because Kashif, we again come back to that model of first-class cricket as well. Even Dhruv, who was leading the fast bowling attack in this final test match, he's got about 107 wickets in first-class cricket, and he's played more than 30, I think, first-class matches. I'll get the exact stats. But I think even I was just looking at the other day because Asif Bhai was asking me, we were trying to compare because Haris Roofs just played 9 test matches. But on the other hand, even Mohammad Siraj has played a number of first-class matches for
Nine first-class
nine
matches.
first-class matches. Yes, 9 first-class matches for Haris Rauf, and even Mohammad Siraj, who is a very underrated bowler so far, and he's not been part of the Indian team for a long time, has played a huge number of first-class games before coming into the Indian side.
So let's add to that Surya Kumar Yadav, the Sky, the T20 specialist. He has played against around 80 first-class matches, and then he became that Sky, or the 24/7, whatever we called it, the 360 dimension player. So what we are trying to achieve is what we, Ahmed and me, trying to say along with Ali, that when we comes to the creating innovation in cricket, it starts from the sound basics you have got. You build a building with a very strong basics, and then you innovate different stories or different type of shots. When it comes to cricket, what we are lacking is the basics of any batsman, and unfortunately in this ongoing PSL, we have coming across so many players who have got shots, whether we called it no-look shot, whether we have got scoop, whether we have got a different flick shot. Nobody's talking about the class cover drive. Nobody talking about a classic cut shot. Nobody talking about a supreme pull shot or a straight drive. So this is where we are lacking the basics of the cricket, as well as the audience. The people looking at it, the people on the social media, they start praising someone with a very different technique or a different shot. So most probably this is where India is so far ahead, so does the Australia, and so does the other countries. When we talk about their specialist in their T20 sides, all of them have been a quality first-class cricketer or a test cricket. Talk Australia with me, David Warner with 100 test match is their match winner in the T20. You can talk Josh Hazlewood, you can talk Mitchell Starc, you can talk Pat Cummins, Jasprit Bumrah, even for matter that England, who have been the first one to come up with the 3 different teams of 3 different formats, they've been reluctant to playing a specialist T20 player. Now they've been taking care of all those players who have been playing first-class cricket and regularly playing longer format of the game.
Ali, very simple, I think, process. They put them into the grind. They make them play at least. I've seen the entire model, and if I can even count players on my fingertips, that the minimum first-class matches I've seen is 30 probably. Make a few exceptions, but 30 first-class matches is probably the minimum that we've seen in these players.
Exactly, and one thing I want to state is that why these, you've had this huge influx and plethora of youngsters coming into the Indian team is because they are battle hardened, they are hardened into first class cricket, and because they are playing so much first class cricket, it shows that by the time they come for their national team, there is a sort of a model, or there's a sort of a track line as to how you're going to fit them into the team. Now you see you have a 5 test match series against England, so they knew, the BCCI knew that if you want to actually blood these new youngsters, this new youth, then do it in a 5 test match series at home, and it's yielded great dividends.
And particularly for what we're talking about, because I wanted that comparison, Akashdeep that I'm talking about, he's played about 31 first class matches, 107 wickets for him. And then you see him onto the Indian circuit as well.
Yeah, you see him onto the Indian circuit, and you just mentioned the nail on its head. 30 minimum test criteria of 30 minimum first class matches. So because of that, you have Akash, who's actually performed very well, and you talk about Jural. I mean, the way Jural actually batted and even played, he was like a veteran over there. He was like so composed, and he had all the skills in the book, and he knew how to defend in a very precarious position. When
for a 23-year-old to have 17 matches under his belt first class and an average of 50, is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. And you talk about Sarfraz Khan, like Ashif Bhai was just mentioned over here. He's mountain of runs he scored. I mean, we've been going on about this lad for the past 5-6 years. For 5-6 years, he scored about 1,000 runs every single season. He didn't know how to get into the team. He got that opportunity, grabbed it with both hands in the last test too. And then at the same time, Jaiswal, who I said ages ago, is one player to look out for the future. He scored a double 100, in this series too, and also 100 too. So I mean, it just shows that when it comes to actually actually when you need to actually blood new youth, you have to have a plan you have to have a plan, and that's exactly what BCCI have done. They've done extremely well to bring out these youngsters, put them and blood them into the team too, and they've done extremely well. I mean, so many veterans are not there. You talk about Virat Kohli, the great Virat Kohli, not there. The great Pujara is no more over there. Rahane. These were big shoes to fill. So for these youngsters to come and perform exceptionally and play at such a high level shows that how well the domestic system and how well this Indian team is doing will do in the future.
Omar Khan, superstars are alike. They also have a lot of talent, as we talk about in Pakistan. But the major difference that we're seeing and what we're discussing right now is the number of first-class games under their belt.
Absolutely. Pakistani players, they're reluctant to play first-class games, and they rather choose to go and play in leagues of T20 cricket. And now Haris Rauf has no PCB central contract just because of that, and you can see his graph falling down. So you have to put in deep years into the first-class cricket. We've seen now Kamran Ghulam and other players who have been playing first-class cricket. Even if you look at Mir Hamza, he's played a lot of first-class cricket, and the difference is there. When they play on any platform, they get a chance. So first-class cricket has to be played. We've discussed that in the past, but moreover, we have to improve the quality of our first-class cricket. All central contracted players, majority of them are not available in the first-class season, and that is why all rookies are playing amongst each other. So until and unless they won't share dressing rooms with the senior players, they won't learn, they won't grow. Always I say that you have to have good mentors. If you look at India, they always had someone to look up to before Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, and now Virat Kohli, and now the younger generation. Whereas Pakistan had a very good batting line to look up to for the likes of Zaheer Abbas, Javed Miandad, followed by Yunus Khan, Mohammad Yusuf, Inzamam. But now the thing is, we're attracted to, as we said, no-look shot and all these shots. So people are more fascinated with this short format of cricket where they can play kind of gully cricket shots. As technique and as a long-run player, you have to be sound. Currently, if I see anyone who's sound in our team, apart from Babar Azam, that's Shan Masood. So these guys who are coming in, they don't have good mentors to follow. And if you see, Rahul Dravid is the head coach of under-19 in the grassroots foundation level. We saw Junaid Khan being a bowling coach of Pakistan team under-19s, and we saw the difference. So our senior players who have achieved in the field, they have to take up a step, come into the first class. It's not about their pride or prestige, but they have to put in time to our grassroots, first class, domestics, districts, region, so that our youngsters can get exposure and get the right guideline to become professional players.
Certainly. Well, we talk about England at the same time as well. I think they have clearly been in the struggle. Kashif, this terminology or the success of Basball has been there and has been everybody has been there to witness it as well. But how consistently can that model be successful? At the same time, India probably needed someone like Joe Root to play his natural game, occupy the crease even more, but that didn't help because everybody's accustomed to unorthodox cricket. And then the biggest failure of Ben Stokes, and of course Sabir Hussain has also sent out a question to Kashif Majid that what's the future of Ben Stokes now as a leader and as a player as well?
The moment they enter or they leave India, he'll be a superstar again. Going in India, playing the spin, the square turners is just not easy. Sabri, just think for yourself, this English team playing at Lord's, Melbourne, or even at Christchurch or Johannesburg, they've been doing the same which they're doing just before this series against India. So my question still remains the same. When any team planning to go to India, the work ethics should have been started 6 months earlier. They have to create those dusty tracks in their own backyard to find out what it will be in India. But since we haven't got enough time, the world of cricket is so fast because these players are playing different leagues as well as their domestic season. They haven't got any time to prepare themselves. So most probably India is still a different sort of territory for anyone going there. And when we talk about England losing the series in India, most probably this was on the cards. It's just one test going to England is slightly different thing, and Basball will stay. It won't happen in India, but it had happened again in the different parts of the world. But what else anyone can do? India have got their specialty of spin tracks. Maybe Pakistan can create those spin tracks, or maybe Bangladesh, or maybe Sri Lanka. And once we are out of Asia, nobody dares to create a spin track. So this is where the Basball success lies. The more they try to create a fast ball, fast wicket, a bouncy track, or a wicket which can give the seam to the bowlers, the more they'll play into the English hands. So this is where they are so successful.
Absolutely. Ali Mehdi, one model has been successful. It's changed a lot of perception about Test cricket as well. But at the same time, probably improvisation is what gave birth to Basball cricket. But now improvising it the other way around in India was something that wasn't successful.
It wasn't successful, and look, one sort of strategy is not going to work everywhere. Obviously they were very successful in Pakistan. They actually whitewashed us over here 3-0. But that formula is not going to work in India. This is the one place. They were the last team to beat them about 12 years ago. 12 years, for 12 years, this India have not lost at home. So there is a reason they are such a dominant team at home, and that is because they've been phenomenal at home. And for that, they actually, like Kashif said, Bhai said, they should have actually started their homework 6 months. Yes, I know the World Cup came in between, you had an Ashes, but if you want to conquer the final frontier, that is India, you've got to start your homework well in advance. And sadly, they didn't do so. I didn't think they had the right players too at the same time. Yes, you can talk about Ben Stokes and then Johnny Bairstow, but look, there's a home series this summer. There'll be once again superstars when they play the likes of Sri Lanka and West Indies, and no disrespect to them, but when they're on their home patch and you're playing teams like Sri Lanka and West Indies, obviously you're going to do very well. But when it comes to the big series, when you go to the Australias, the South Africas, the Indias, then you actually need to do your planning well in advance, and sadly they didn't so. And because of that, they've lost this series once again. I believe this is the 4th consecutive away series they've lost in India, and then at the same time they've lost World Test Championship ranking points. So for that reason, they won't be making the World Test Championship once again.
Ali Mehdi, it's been the other way around. I mean, for Ben Duckett I think he's had a very successful series. I'll be very honest. I think he's performing brilliantly well. There's a lot of reliance on Johnny Bairstow, Joe Root and Ben Stokes to get them out of bottlenecks, and that didn't happen probably, and that's what caused them to plunder. In the past, we've seen them finding success in these particular conditions courtesy of batters like Alistair Cook,
Peterson,
Andrew Strauss, Jonathan Trott, Ian Bell for a change, people who have learned to occupy the crease well.
Yeah, and the thing is that you don't have those type of... Look, that team actually, the last team to actually win in India way back in 2011, 12, I remember that series, they lost the first match, and then they bounced back to win 2 test matches. A whirlwind of innings played by Peterson and Mumbai, and one of the best innings I've ever seen, about 180 he scored over there. And then to go, and Alistair Cook to score another incredible, I believe a double 100 or 100, extremely well. And to win in those conditions, you need grit of mind, you need great mental space, and that's what they did. They had those technical players. Sadly, they don't have those players which you just mentioned. And if you don't have those players, then you have to get your best players from the first class system and onto the circuit and battle harder in them. Maybe get them to go and play in the Ranji Trophy, do something. Get them to play in Dubai, because if you don't get those sort of players, if you don't plan in advance, you're not going to win in India. And England had a golden opportunity. We like 2022, and Ahmed, they won the first Test match, but once again they've blown it away. And they're going to drew these opportunities because you're not going to get such a great start once again. You've done it twice now, and once again you've lost a series. So it's just bad planning, and at the same time your big superstars haven't performed, which has really let England down.
Well, Umar Khan, has Ben Stokes been the biggest disappointment? Because there's been a lot of reliance for the English team, and obviously the aura he's built around himself as an individual in the world of cricket is for someone to win you games out of nowhere.
And he has done that in the past, but then again, age factor and fitness factor is a big question mark, and he's not playing T20, he's playing Test cricket, which takes the most of the strength. 5 days of competitive cricket, which brings in a lot of strategies, a lot of plannings, a lot of nerves, and playing in India under their conditions is the toughest of the task. If we look at the IPL closely, the same ground has a wicket that scores 240 runs in 20 overs, and in the same ground they have a wicket that scores 100 runs and get defended. So India are very good with this, and how their curators are very good. They know exactly what wickets they want to make, and the best part is when you make a wicket, it's for both the teams. But India make most use of their wickets as well with youngsters. It's not even their senior players. So that credit goes to India, that they know what wicket they're building, how they need to play, they define roles to each individuals, and that's how it goes by. Coming back to Ben Stokes, I think his years are almost done. You know, he's done some brilliance, winning the World Cup, winning that Ashes Test match out of nowhere. But I think it's time for him to hang boots, because fitness is also a question, and things are not working for him. And what goes for England now is the strategy they've made. When it pulls off, they look very good. But when they don't, they look quite mediocre. So they have to find a middle ground where they have to, as you mentioned, they have to improvise according to the situation. And yes, they have some players that can go in the long run. They're playing a lot of cricket in the subcontinent. I think it's about time that England should get used to all of this. I remember back before 2010, England were famous for playing book cricket, and they never win major trophies. But then Kevin Peterson came, and then they changed their usual format of playing unusual cricket that won them trophies, as the T20 World Cups and the other trophies. So I think it's time that they get into their head that yes, they need more players like Joe Root to give them balance. And according to situation, they vary. Going on Basball every time won't work.
But then, who's the next one for England then? Let's say if you talk about Ben Stokes, passing the guard, then to who? Who do we see a permanent member of this English Test side who can lead forward?
I think someone from the opening batters would go well, because in England, apart from James Anderson, they have very short spans for fast bowlers. I think someone from their Oli Pope or some player in the top order, because Joe Root won't take the responsibility again. They should go with a young captain who's around 26, 27, 28 maybe, who can give in 5-6 years to the team, because that would be my call. Even it could be Bairstow, but as you said, a permanent spot. So opening top order batsman, and what comes to my mind is Oli Pope.
Well, might be Harry Brook as well. I think if there was anyone to bank on, I thought. Kashif, would like to add something?
Okay, two basic things. When we talk about in England winning in India way back 2012, I guess, the most important thing was technically correct batsman and the use of sweep shot against the spin bowling. When we talk about Alastair Cook scoring those runs, he is phenomenal with his cut shot and the sweep shots. The moment off spinner bowls something wide of the off stump, he uses his cut, and the moment it was around offish and or down the leg side, he uses his sweep shot. So the use of the sweep shot with the Kevin Peterson, Alastair Cook and Ian Bell's technically correct technique made heavy runs in those series. And when we talk about this series, Ben Duckett used those sweep shots to exceptionally well. So this is where England have developed. England needs to develop those players who can play sweep shots very well, because when it comes to India playing with the straight bat, it's just not an easy task. Second important thing, when we talk about the captaincy, for me, Ben Stokes still belongs here, because this is one series. Previous to this series, he is an exceptional leader. So one series coming to India where everybody's talking about that they'll be whitewashed and still winning one test and fighting till the very end in the 2 or 3 test matches. This is where Stoke has got slightest of the edge over the previous captains, because he's actually still playing till the very last ball or till the very last session. So most probably he still has got a role to play, because he's a role model. And what if I'll ask and come out with the name of Zach Crawley, because recently the way he's handling media, the way he's coming up with his statements, I think he has got all the potential to be a great and courageous leader. So most probably they'll be developing someone from in the likes of Zach Crawley or maybe someone other name. But for me, Ben Stokes still belongs there. Just wait for the next series and wait for the T20 World Cup maybe, or wait for the next test series, and he'll be back to his very best, because in India with those sore knees or the injured knees, playing sweep shot is just not an easy task.
Absolutely, I understand, but one of the major reasons for Ben Stokes being a crucial part of this English side, Ali Mehdi, has been the fact that he was chipping in with some quality overs as a bowler as well. Now, since that element has been eliminated and Stokes is no more comfortable with bowling, a lot of that reliance or eyeballs now come to just the performance he has with the bat.
with the bat and also his captaincy too. Obviously, both are very important, and he's a phenomenal fielder. But losing him as a bowler has made a world of a difference, because look, Ahmed, if you look at his bowling in his Test career, he's a very, very important sort of a cog in that team, because the thing with him is that he gets those important breakthroughs. He breaks partnerships. Even in the recently concluded Ashes, he was breaking partnerships and the sort of players who were just getting stuck onto the wicket. So he's a huge loss when it comes to he's a huge loss when it comes to him bowling. So I think that's why there was so much of an onus when it comes to his batting, and because he hasn't been able to deliver the goods, obviously we are questioning his role as captain. But I still think that if he really wants to continue as captain, he genuinely, if he really cares for this team, Ahmed, he should leave white ball cricket for good. White ball cricket will prolong his Test career, because look, he's won everything when it comes to white ball cricket. He's won the T20 World Cup in Australia in 2022. He won the World Cup in England in 2019. He's won everything. What has he more got to achieve in white ball cricket? Maybe the Champions Trophy. But look, the Champions Trophy, you cannot compare that to the big one, the World Cup and the T20. And because of that, he gets fatigued. He's not performing. If he just dedicates himself to the first class cricket.
And surprisingly, Ali Mehdi, surprisingly in the past, if you look at England Test captains, then they've only been sole captains or sole players of just one particular format in which they were captaining. That was Test cricket. We can take the example of Alistair Cook, Andrew Strauss for a fact as well. We go way back and we'll see even plenty, because at that time they didn't have those three formats. So I think these two pretty good examples of why they were so successful in Test cricket.
No, I think it's a very good point we've actually put over here. If he really wants to care for that World Test Championship, if he really, look, what does he have on, what does the English Cricket Board and the English cricket team have on their mind? Yes, next time they want to go to India, they want to win over again. They want to win an Ashes in Australia, something they haven't done since 2010. And the big one, to probably qualify for World Test Championship final. But for them to do that, it's important that they have a captain in one format, and that is Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes really enjoys this format. He does extremely well, and he does very well at home. But if you want to perform well away from home, then you've got to leave the other formats so you can concentrate on your technique, you can concentrate on strategy, many things. And for that reason, he'll have to sacrifice those other two formats which he's been very fond and successful in. And that is if he wants to complete this, you could say the trophy set, and that is to perform, that is to do very well in Test cricket.
Absolutely, and surprisingly, I think their next assignment is going to be T20s against Pakistan in May. So all the best to make a comeback there as well. So that is something where they can probably find form and certainly be there as well. Umar Khan, final thoughts on the captaincy of Rohit Sharma. There's been so much against him. There's been so much said on the media. A lot of people have criticized him as the Indian skipper, as a player as well. But frankly speaking, he's got the job done.
Well, as a player, there's no doubt in the abilities of Rohit Sharma. But as a captain, I don't like him much as a captain. Although he won a lot of trophies in IPL for Mumbai Indians. But apart from that, when on the international stage, I've seen him make major blunders. He's not calm. He does not know how to manage his play, especially if you look at that incident where Deep was like the left-arm fast bowler who dropped the catch, Arshdeep Singh dropped the catch, and how he slammed on him. So a captain is one who carries his players along, who builds the team, and who can take crucial decisions while he loses temper. So I don't think Rohit Sharma should go on with the captaincy. That's my personal opinion, because India has a lot of choices. They've got a lot of players with good cricketing brain and cricketing sense. And I think Rohit Sharma has a few years left as a batsman. But as a captain, I think it's time to develop someone new.
Well, certainly. That being said, I think that wraps up the argument. But Umar Khan, Kashif Majid and Ali Mehdi, thank you very much for joining us. I think India's dominance is continuing, and if you talk about particular teams after Australia who look to dominate various formats, India's got to be one of those teams, and I think they always get the job done despite so much being said on the media platforms as well. But I think cricket is still their primary focus, and that's what they're doing. Well, that wraps up Sports Extra from me and the entire team. It's goodbye for now.